Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. Is it really an episode? Because really, this is really a little sub-series called The Day, well, if that's nicking the BBC, I was about to say The Day at the Test. But we were at the Test match. The CCP were at Lords, we were at the Test match, we were at day one. Santokie was there all day. I watched most of it at work and then turned up for the last 2.5 hours maybe of the day. And Santokie, we're down horrid. We're down horrid. Bad. Day one, bowled out shortly after. Wait, did we even make it to? Shortly, yeah, halfway through the second session, I think. Halfway through the second session, bowled out for 121. England 189 for 3 at the end of the day with a lead of 60 odd. And it's looking like this might be a 3-day test match, Santokie. Where do we even start? I'm not even vexed. Just where do we even start?
Well, I think, like you said, any hopes West Indian fans would have had that West Indies could spring an upset at Lords were dashed by the middle of the second session on day one with a collapse smash. We've got to put it down as a collapse. You know, at one point, West Indies were 34 without loss. Even then, we were 88 for 3. So even at those points, you're thinking, okay, if we can get past 200, unfortunately, we saw an almighty collapse. Those of us, such as ourselves, who have followed West Indies closely over the years, wouldn't have seen it as too much of a surprise. We've seen it happen a few times before in the past. But Gus Atkinson, on debut, you know, the Surrey seamer, got made to look like prime Glenn McGrath. Best day of his life in cricket terms. 7 wickets. Used the slope well, but genuinely, I think West Indian batsmen gave away a lot of the wickets. We saw a lot of rash shots, and not really too much composure. But in West Indies' defence, if you have an experienced batting lineup, we'd raised it. It was a big concern. This is what happens. You come out to play at Lords, these kind of things happen. So, Mash, let's take it from the top. So, England won the toss, chose to bowl, obviously, overcast conditions. You know what? As down bad as the day was, the first 10 overs, Louis and Brathwaite batted through it. I think it was Wokes and Anderson took the new ball. They didn't really cause them too many problems. Brathwaite couldn't really get going. He didn't put many runs there, but most importantly, he stayed in. Louis as well was looking fluent. He hit a 6 down deep square, hit a few boundaries. So it was a good start, Mash. It wasn't a completely horrendous innings. 10 overs, we managed to stay in. However, the second ball after the 10th over, Brathwaite chops on, and it's all downhill from there, isn't it?
So I don't want to be simplistic, because the problem with cricket, test cricket, well, maybe any format of cricket, but certainly arguments and conversations around the West Indies, it's too easy to have a narrative and just say, well, this means this. So if and when West Indies lose on day 3, that's what most people now assume. Maybe we can push it to early morning day 4. But if and when West Indies lose this test match, it is almost inevitable that the narrative will be, boy, this is the future of test cricket. West Indies can't compete. They're down bad. Now, I say all that to say this. Is it too lazy of a narrative to say that if Craig doesn't bat deep, we shouldn't be surprised if our batting lineup then faces a collapse like this? Because, and this is why in the press conference before the test match started, I said to Craig, do you put pressure on your shoulders to have to perform? Because obviously, number 2, Louis has no test matches. Number 3, Mackenzie has 3 test matches. Athanase has 4. Hodge has 2. So between positions 2, 3, 4, and 5, we have a total of 8 or 9 test matches, right? 9 test matches. Once Craig went early, Santokie, I'm not going to lie to you, I was dreading what was going to come next.
Yeah. I think Brathwaite was struggling to get off the mark. He scored 6 off 33 balls. I think that chop on was pressure getting to him, trying to put runs on the board. And like you said, that batting lineup, the composition of it means you're heavily reliant on Brathwaite essentially carrying that top order, shepherding it. So as soon as Brathwaite went, you're looking at, hold on, Louis and Mackenzie combined between them, they played 3 tests, all Mackenzie before this match at Lords. So you're looking at basically a new players who are new to Test cricket coming in. It was never going to be easy for them. And obviously we saw Mackenzie go out for 1. And then Louis, as well as he was playing, edged it. It was a brilliant catch by Harry Brook at slip. But after that, I was looking, you know what? So those 3 wickets went, I think that was at just before lunch. Afanase and Hodge did put together something. Afanase was looking good. He hit a few fluent shots. We know what a quality batter him and Hodge are. Hodge was in form from the century. He scored in a warm-up match. So Afanase and Hodge did put together something. But again, Mash, that lack of experience there. We saw, was it Afanase went out first? It was Afanase got caught by Root. And then Hodge, it was a great catch by Ollie Pope. But again, it was kind of a rash shot from Hodge. I think the pressure told on Hodge. Once Afanase was out, Hodge was thinking, hold on, I need to put runs together here. We're losing wickets. And so the pressure kind of told. But like we said, when you've got a batting line of this much inexperience, you can't build a match strategy if you've never been in that situation before. I don't think anyone knew how to take the lead or knew what to do. And that was, going back to your original point, largely down to losing Brathwaite first.
Yeah, and I think even before Hodge went, because when Hodge went, it was 88 for 7. So we have to remember when Afanase went, I think it was 88 for 4, right? Then Holder came in, gone, first ball, 88 for 5. Josh in, gone, 88 for 6. Then Hodge trying to force the issue, 88 for 7. So, I mean, I've seen West Indies collapses before, so this was nothing new. But even this was a bit dramatic to go from 88 for 3 to 88 for 7 in about the space of 6 or 7 or 8 balls, or whatever it might have been, right? Obviously, Holder duck, the silver duck. Steve Harmison on Talk Sport asked me at the end of the day, he was like, is Holder batting too high at number 6? And I said to Harmy, the problem is if Holder doesn't bat 6, we have no other option. Your only other option is Sinclair, which is also another inexperienced batter who would have been with 1 test match at number 6. So it's horses for courses for me. Like, is either, do you know what I mean? Like, we almost have no option. Now, you can quibble about if Josh should have batted ahead of Holder and who's the better bats out of De Silva or Holder. But the point is they both got duck anyway. And this is why you may remember Santokie in the tour match at Beckenham. When we were talking after day 1, we were having that conversation about will West Indies play 6 out-and-out batters? Like, will McCaskey play and Louis, simply because we don't really have that much batting depth, if you see where I'm coming from. Jimmy Adams was quizzed at the end of the day today and asked about how come Sinclair didn't play. And Jimmy was frank. He said, Moti's our number 1 spinner. We believe that Moti can get something out of this particular wicket. So it made sense to go with our number 1 spinner in this scenario. And I think I did a video last night, Santokie, before the start of the day's play, saying that Sinclair's selection, if we had selected him, would have basically been an admission to the players that none of you can bat. Therefore, we need a number 8 who can bat, and almost saying that solidifying the batting is more important than the ability to take 20 wickets. If you see what I mean. So we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think it wouldn't have sent the best message out. And also, I think realistically, Mash, even if we did have Sinclair in for Moti, it wouldn't have substantially increased our innings score. I mean, no discredit to Kevin Sinclair, but if the rest of the batting lineup are struggling like that, there's nothing to suggest Sinclair would have been able to put up a massive score either. So I don't think in the grand scheme of things, it would have made much of a difference. It could be beneficial tomorrow, having Moti. He didn't bowl today, but it could have him.
No, he bowled a couple of.
Oh, he bowled a couple. That must have
like
been
3 or 2, maybe 2. He bowled 2.
2, yeah, he bowled 2. But tomorrow, when he gets a proper spelling, we could see him be effective. But like you said, Mash, it would have sent the wrong message up to say, you know, we're putting Sinclair in because we basically don't trust our top order. We need ones coming from 8. But just going on to that passage of play, that for me was obviously the most disappointing part of the innings. Holder and De Silva going out. We know what they can do, particularly Holder in England. Coming off his county spell at Worcestershire, when he did put runs together for Worcestershire, he scored a century in one of the games. To go out, he took a swipe to go out in that first with a first ball duck. Then De Silva, similar, getting edged as well to the wicketkeeper. I think to lose two batters of that, especially when we know that they can both play patient innings and dig in, to lose them for a duck in the same over, and they're senior players, and that was definitely an example of players losing composure. Basically,
scrambled minds.
Scrambled, basically.
It was that classic situation where everyone's like, a man is coming in, you got to rush to put your pads on. Wait a minute, my man's out as well. I need to rush to put my pads on. Like, it was frantic, scrambled minds cricket.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was frantic cricket, and because was Atkinson was on a hat trick, isn't it, to De Silva?
Yeah.
And then De Silva survived the first ball, but it's almost like he took his eye off the ball then, and he was kind of like, all right, cool, let me get in. And then the next ball he went out. So it's 3 wickets in the over, and that essentially killed the innings off. And like I said earlier, like Gus Atkinson, obviously it was a good spell of bowling. He got 7 wickets, used the slope well. It wasn't spectacular though. It's not the type of spell that should bring 7 wickets. And he said he couldn't believe how his day's been going. If I was Atkinson, I wouldn't be able to believe that I've been handed all these wickets on my debut at Lords.
Yeah, let's go through it though. So, because we have to be fair. Craig's dismissal was soft.
Yeah,
that's not a Craig Brathwaite dismissal. It was a nothing shot. Louis, in fairness, that was a great grab, but some might say he was playing away from his body. Mackenzie was awful. Athanase poked to root, didn't he? Outside his off stump. That was a bit of a nothing shot to get out to. Kavem Hodge was the great catch from Pope. Holder, leading edge, trying to tuck it into the onside, I think. To Silver nicked through. And then I'm not even going to bother with Alzari. I mean, Alzari hit some fours and gave it away. I'm not even bothering with 8, 9, 10, 11 because that's the tell and we're not expecting nothing from them really and truly. So I guess you could argue, for argument's sake, if I'm being genuine, maybe 4 of the top 7 could say, you know what, my dismissal was soft. Maybe 4. But either way, regardless of that, and regardless of the fact that England got the best of the bowling conditions, overcast, a bit gloomy in the morning, it's nipping around, it's swinging a bit, etc., it was not, for me, a pitch where Gus Atkinson should have been taking 7 for 45. 7 for 45 is the type of figures you get when you're bowling an epic spell.
Yeah.
You're bowling an epic spell and it's one for the ages. That will be one of the, respectfully to the West Indies team, that will be surely one of the softest 7thers he's got in his career. That doesn't mean he wasn't good. It just wasn't great. And my argument is at least let the bowler be great to give them a 7ther. Don't just let any old bowler get a 7ther. And this is an over criticism of mine. I just think on reflection, everybody connected to the team will say that was a poor day's cricket in the batting sense.
Yeah, I think once you're all out for 121, just over 40 overs, there's no positives to take from it. And I think in consequence, obviously we talked about the bowling being a strength. I think it obviously would have affected the bowling as well when England came out to bat, because obviously you're coming out now knowing your side's been bowled out for 1-2-1. Match is essentially, barring a miracle, the match is essentially done. I think that affected the bowlers. They did manage to get the early wicket. So going to the England innings, they did manage to get the early wicket of Ben Duckett. Crawley and Pope put together big runs. Holder had a review, had a wicket given, but on review it was missing leg stump, so that got reversed for Ollie Pope, and then they just built the runs together and finishing the close of play match. I know it was 189 for 3, so England are leading by 68 runs. So a dream. If you're Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum, it's a dream day. But we do have to mention Jayden Seales. Jayden Seales bowled well, excellent Yorker to get Zach Crawley out. That was probably the delivery of the day. If you're looking at the match, that was an excellent delivery from Jayden Seales. So that was the one small highlight for West Indies. But overall, Mash, as you said, to summarise it succinctly, it was a down bad day for West Indies overall.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we should say, Shamar Joseph, So Alzari's our pack leader now. Now Kumar Roach isn't there. Alzari's our pack leader. Alzari bowled 10 overs, none for 66. I'm not saying anything more, but just suffice to say, Alzari's our pack leader now.
Yeah.
Whether Kumar comes back from his injury later on in the year, so on and so forth, You've just if you are the designated pack leader, you've got to lead from the front. And 10 overs none for 66 is not leading from the front. Somebody will get in the comments below and say, yeah, but a catch was dropped of him. Okay, cool. 10 overs, 1 for 66. That's still not that's still not leading from the front. So Jaden bowled well. Jason, in fairness, I thought bowled well. Shamar Joseph, let's quickly talk on him, Santokie. This right. Now, for all I know, tomorrow, because Shamar's had to adjust to the slope at Lords, it's not as bouncy as the Gabba was. He's got the weight of the Caribbean on his shoulders because of what he did in Australia. Bowled a few good deliveries, a few that beat the bat, a few that had to be really kind of dug out by the English batters. But he also bowled a lot of loose deliveries, which were put away to the boundary, so on and so forth. Quite expensive. 9 overs, none for 42. I'm not saying this was after the Lord's Mayor's show. That's not really my point here. But I do just want to say to all the West Indian fans who cussed me out when we did the video about it, and there's if you go on like Insta and TikTok, there's loads of people who've put under the video saying we don't know what we're talking about. At the Kent game or at the warm-up game, Santokie, we had a brief discussion where we said, it's asking a lot of Shamar Joseph to come off a plane, not play a warm-up game. In fact, someone tell me, when was the last time Shamar Joseph played a game of cricket? It would have been that game in IPL, right? That one game he played in IPL.
I think he played one of the warm-up games for the World Cup T20 games against Australia, maybe.
Yeah, sorry, good point. South Africa. So the point being that as great as he may turn out to be and as good as he is, any bowler coming off a plane and arriving essentially 72 hours before a test match, if that's what it was, and then being told, right, you're going to bowl spells, and he's going to have to bowl spells tomorrow, right? And at one point, Santokie, did you see that they were treating him for cramp on the pitch? And as soon as he went down for that cramp, I was like, you see, all those people who are saying you two don't know what you're talking about. This is the danger and the risk you take when you say to a man, you're here, cool, no warm-up, in you come. Now, like I say, by all means, Santokie, people might tweet us tomorrow and go, you see, when Shamar takes a 4 for or 5 for tomorrow, but do you understand why there were some reservations about just throwing him straight in?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the video that you were referring to, we even said it's not a disrespect to Shamar Joseph. Just any bowler in the world, Pat Cummins, whoever, man, Trent Bolt, if you fly them into a country 72 hours before, it's very, very unlikely. It's against the odds that they're going to be able to perform. Even if they do perform, they won't be performing at 100% maximum capacity because your body needs time to adjust to the new time zone. You need to get sharp. You need to have practice, bowl some spells. And I think it was telling, Mash, before the toss, when West Indies were warming up on the pitch, Jason Holder, Alzarri Joseph were kind of strolling in and doing some practice throws and stuff. Shamar Joseph was racing in, blowing full tilt. And I was thinking in my head, because he hasn't had much time in England, he's basically using even that time to try and get some practice in. So it was inevitable. I think, obviously, the cramps that he had as well, luckily, it wasn't too serious. He managed to continue bowling after that. But that, again, shows you that he's not had ideal preparation. And we'd highlighted it many times before. If he travels to the World Cup and he's not playing, would it not have been a better use of his time to be preparing for this Red Bull series? However, obviously, with the hectic schedule and Cricket West Indies obviously decided what their priorities were. He's been in that unfortunate situation where he's sat carrying drinks in the Caribbean for the past month for the World Cup and then had been flown in, jettisoned in and expected to kind of play a massive impact in a bowling attack without match practice. Like you said, knowing Shamar Joseph's character and what he did in Australia, tomorrow, he could come and take a 5 for instance. But based on today's evidence, this is a day one review. It was essentially a reflection of his preparation or lack of preparation that showed today out in Lords.
Yeah, 100%. Last thing then, before we wrap this day one review, what do we think will happen tomorrow? So England 189 for 3. I suspect because of the way England now play cricket, their run rate already is 4.72. I suspect, Santokie, that they'll try to go at a run rate of 5 plus and try to put on something akin to, so what are they, 189? I think they'll want 200 runs minimum by tea. And And I think it would not surprise 200 runs more, probably 250. It wouldn't surprise me, Santokie, if they declare at tea. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Unless, of course, we could bowl them out and force their hand. But if we didn't, don't be surprised, Santokie, if they declare at tea and say, you know what, you man, we're going to try blow you away in this last session before close of play on Thursday.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see definitely tomorrow is we're going to see Brook and Root, do their thing, start playing attacking. We might see an occasional ramp shot from Root. I think once you lose those wickets, and you start seeing, the likes of Jamie Smith, Stokes, Chris Wokes, you're basically going to see one of those innings where it's chaotic, like the ball's going to the boundary all over the place. And that'll be a test of the West Indies bowlers, how they can adapt. But I agree. I think they'll look to put on as much runs as they can and then probably declare either just before tea or just after tea, put West Indies in and then look to put pressure on and try and bowl them out either. I mean, you never know of West Indies, but I'd like to think West Indies could bat out one session and take it to day 3. But they'll be looking, to get late inroads tomorrow. So it's up to West Indies. It's key to get an early wicket tomorrow, ideally within the first 3 to 5 overs, and try and take it from there because you want to bowl England out. I think it's demoralising. Even if we say we can't win this test, if we're looking as the series as a whole, you want to be bowling England out. For England to declare and then beat West Indies, it doesn't boost morale for that second test. So ideally, for West Indies' own morale, it'd be good to bowl them out. We're going to see how it goes. It's going to be a very, very tough ask. I think mentally, what today will be quite tough on the West Indian players, and we'll go from there. But I think it also goes to show, Mash, like Inexperience. There was a lot of talk about, Shamar Joseph delivering straight away because of what he done in the Gabba. We talked about that. Mikhail Louis, as well as he played, we also have to remember. This is Lords. Probably that match at Beckenham last week, I was thinking might be the biggest crowd he's ever played in terms of a professional career. So to jump up to Lords now, added pressure, Kirk McKenzie as well, all that inexperience, is sort of reflecting. So it's going to be up to, Brathwaite, Holder, De Silva, Alzari to try and galvanise this squad and boost their morale for tomorrow and give them a belief that they are still in with a chance to do something in this match. So we're going to see how it is tomorrow. Both of us are in the press box, for the whole day. So we'll be there doing content. We might do some filming on site. So keep a lookout for that. Mash. And also, I think we need to talk on that. It's a highlight of a Caribbean Cricket podcast. We managed to bus through to the Lords home of cricket, the press box, sit in the top pavilion, mingle around, get a good view, get free food as well. Can't complain about that. So Caribbean Cricket podcast, we made it to the mainstream, fam.
Yeah, for real. I'm bringing my container tomorrow to take some of the food home. So I've got something to eat for the next few days or so. So anybody who's at the game tomorrow, give me a pot, bring a pot in, and I will make sure you can take some of this.
You know what?
This Lord's
food
home.
You know what we're gonna do, Mash? Because you came late. You came late today, so you missed it. We're gonna have to film a taste challenge because obviously you're the Jamaican in the podcast. You got to do a taste review of the jerk chicken. They got there because. They're telling me out there it's authentic, it's authentic yard food. So you gotta give me a taste review and we'll film it.
What did they season it with? Did they season it with oxygen and water? Cuz what?
I think Jamie Oliver cooked it.
Listen, people, tune in. Obviously, all the updates on Twitter and X. Maybe some Insta updates throughout the day. Send in your questions, observations, etc. And then lastly, just to make sure that we end on a positive, obviously what we're hoping for tomorrow, West Indies bowl England out cheaply or as cheap as they possibly can. And then when we come to bat, because I think we will be batting at some stage tomorrow, that we don't lose any wickets in the process, which hopefully then sets us up for a day 3 of at least showing some fight in the test match. I think we're already at the stage with this test match where it's like, let's show some fight. So let's hope we do that on day 2 and day 3. As ever, rally around the West Indies, people. This has been the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. More content will be coming in the following days, but we'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.